This is Success Beyond the Score, giving insights and tips to help you learn how to build your music career from the best in the field by Millicent Stephenson. Millicent is a multi-award winning saxophonist and endorser of Harry Hartman's Fiber Reeds. She is currently serving on the Executive Committee of the Musicians Union. With over 40 years' experience in the creative industry, Millicent has honed her performance and business skills. She provides personal development training and coaching via her online platform, successbeyondthescore.com.
Hello, I'm Millicent Stephenson, and I'm happy to bring you another episode of Success Beyond the Score. This podcast is to help you learn how to build your music career from the best in the field. At the time of this recording, we are so close to the end of the year. I wanted to look back at some reflections about that critical event that marked 2020 and 2021, the coronavirus pandemic. It was a devastating blow for humankind at all levels that is still taking a toll to this day. Yet it was also a moment of crisis that allowed us to think differently about what we were doing and what we really wanted. How did it go in the music industry? What is the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on independent, DIY or signed musicians? Today we're going to hear true stories and true experiences. Let's listen to Anna Brooks, Tony Bean, Louise Dengate, Dan Whitehouse, Abigail Kelly and Ruby Turner MBE. They're going to tell us about the hardships, the opportunities, the good and the bad. Please be aware, these interviews happen during different moments of the pandemic, so the outlook of the guests might vary. Also, all of these conversations took place over Zoom, which means you might hear a difference in sound quality between the intro and the recordings. Without further ado, here are my guests. How has it been for you as a full-time musician? What have you done to sort of navigate this very choppy time?
Built this studio. And it's amazing how many musicians have built recording studios in their gardens during this time. You know, if you're a touring musician, you're on the road all the time. You don't get that much time at home. And, you know, we've really needed a distraction during these times, you know. Mm-hmm. And this is one thing that we have done. This recording studio was actually in the Jewellery Quarter in Birmingham, and so the entire music studio has moved to a building in our back garden now, which it's absolutely amazing. It's fantastic. So that has been one thing that, if you can say there's a positive of the whole situation, that is one thing that is a positive, because I don't know when we've wanted to do this before and we've spoken about it, but we've never actually had the time to do it because we've not been around enough. So that's one thing. Positive.
Lots of negative.
Lots of negative. I mean, it's been devastating. It breaks my heart. It really breaks my heart. You know, I know so many musicians who have been unable to work. You know, musicians are driving taxis and supermarket deliveries and delivering pizzas, and you know, they're not able to do what they love. They're not able to. You know, they're not able to work. And I haven't done anything else, which is partly a conscious decision because, I don't know, maybe this will come back to bite me, but I don't feel like I should. I think musicians should be supported, not retrained. Without meaning to get political, you know. So I've been able to practice more extensively for the first time in a long time, which has been great. But I've not been able to work, and I've just watched, you know, venues close, and my entire diary. This would have been my first year, my full year touring with Jules Holland and the band, and after the little tour that I did with the 6-piece band in March, I actually came back from the tour with COVID-19 in March, and haven't played with the band since then. I've really, really missed the interaction with other musicians, and I know that's something that musicians have really missed as well, and a lot of people's mental health has suffered, as well as their income being absolutely devastated. I mean, really, really devastated, which has also happened to us. But I'm hopeful that maybe next year, maybe not early, but maybe all of the gigs that have been postponed, until sort of summer and onwards next year will happen. I had quite a moment recently, just a few days ago, when we were rehearsing with Jules and the band, and it's very odd playing at 2.5 meters away from everybody. So because as wind instrumentalist and vocalist, we have to be 2.5 meters away. So playing in a socially distanced environment is quite tricky and quite challenging as well. And everyone was really happy to see their band members, but of course no one can give anyone a hug. So all you want to do is hug each other. But there was a really beautiful moment actually when Ruby Turner came in and rehearsed a piece that she was doing, and not rehearse, she doesn't need to rehearse, she just comes in and sings. She's just amazing. And the whole band, after she sang, there was just an amazing vibe that I think everyone had missed, a connection, a musical connection that we absolutely thrive on as musicians, because we do it because it's our passion. It's not a job, it's an absolute passion. For me, it's a passion, it's a calling. And Ruby came and sang, and there was such it was like electricity. I know it sounds like a cliche, but you could really, really feel it, and you could really feel that people had missed that. And we stopped, and it went absolutely quiet at the end, and I completely teared up. I thought, this is what we do. I could feel it. I could feel it in my heart, and I'd missed it so much. I'd missed that, like I say, that non-verbal communication. It's a feeling with music. It's something you can't express in words, and that's why it's such an amazing thing, and that's why music appeals to so many people. That's why it speaks to the soul, because you don't have to articulate it, you feel it. And it was quite a moment, and I looked around, and I don't think I was the only one who was a little bit teary-eyed.
I believe in everything you've just said there, and I often think, why doesn't the government do something to allow music and the arts to be active during this time? Because it would make so many people better and well, and
we need
fighting
more,
fit. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. We do need more support. We got another self-employed income support scheme grant, but not everyone's eligible for that. And it's great to have that, but we need to get back to work in a socially distanced way, and I don't feel like enough is being done. There's a lot of talk about the hospitality sector, and of course, I have my sympathies is with them as well. But we haven't been able to work at all. It's not just a case of in and out of lockdown, and restaurants and places have been able to work a little, and I know it's been terrible for them as well. But we haven't been able to work at all, and I feel like there was an initial bit of noise about the plight of the arts and the music industry when we first went into lockdown, but I feel like we've been a bit forgotten since then, because we're still here and we're still not able to work. It's without trying to get too political, but I do think that apologies.
I know, I mean, not for you, it's all for me. I could say a lot on this subject. I do think the government's got this bit wrong, and you know what, Musicians Union are speaking to the government. They are knocking on doors, they are doing things, but the government have got to start listening. I think they're more interested in telling us to keep quiet, stay in your houses and lock your doors. But that human contact and music is so important. There's so much research out there to prove what music and art, dance, poetry, paintings, everything. There's so much out there to prove how much it does for us as human beings.
Absolutely.
To one side, but
absolutely. And I have to say, I am a musicians union member, and the musicians union, you know, they've been great in keeping everybody informed, and in the financial support that they have given as well. And yes, I'm very grateful to the musicians union. I've been a musicians union member since I won't say that. How long's that now? 30 years.
Wow.
30 years I've been, and they have helped me, really helped me out when I've needed it. So at various times in my career, so I'm very grateful.
Now listen, it's lockdown, it's COVID, tier 1, 2, 3, all that kind of stuff. How have you coped during that time as a full-time musician, producer? You know, what's been the impact to your business, and how are you surviving?
It's more remote stuff that we've been doing. So I've been able to do more remote recordings in terms of people sending tracks in to be mixed, mastered, and also doing voiceover stuff, which is just single person stuff that we've been able to do. And also as well, I've been able to get some writing done, which has been good. So I've been able to spend some time writing, which helps because, again, I'm trying to build up my song portfolio, as it were, my publishing portfolio. So that's helped as well. Yeah.
So it sounds like, although lockdown and COVID has been not good for many people, death or whatever, in some ways it's moved your business in a slightly different direction. You've had to find different ways to survive.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because you've built up a strong base that you were able to sort of divert at this time, or is it just been luck or God instance, or what do you think has been the thing that's allowed you to still survive during really difficult times when the industry is really saying it's being contracted, it's been different things are shut down, theaters aren't happening, this ain't happening? What do you think has made it possible for you to survive?
I think it's a mix. It's a combination of it is, I think, a blessing from God that I'm able to do it, but it has been potentially as well part of the base that we've got in terms of we've built up a fairly good reputation. We've built up a fairly good client base as well that knows what we do, knows that we're able to work through certain things as well. And I think, that client base has helped. Having a client base that knows that you can diversify a little, that you're not just sort of pop music producers or not just R&B producers, but you can actually record things and master them, has helped as well. That you have to be able to diversify. You can't just be on a one track, one idea thing, or a one trick pony, as it were. You have to be able to diversify. And I think being able to offer technical expertise in terms of mixing and mastering alone without being a producer, to put my hat on as a mixing engineer and for Colin to be doing mastering as well is another string to our bow. That's helped, not just having to offer production services, but being able to offer the tail end services as well.
Obviously, we are going through lockdowns. I mean, we've had 2 and the COVID thing. So how are you finding it in terms of your income? You're a full-time musician, you're self-employed. Within the industry, obviously, theatres are closed, gigs are cancelled. Certainly all of mine cancelled to next year. So how are you finding it, and what are you doing to sort of stay afloat during this time?
Yeah, that has been hard. I mean, obviously, there's the government grants for self-employed people. And I'm just really grateful that I was honest on my tax returns for the last couple of years.
So am I.
there are some people that have not been honest, and like they've paid a price this year, But I'm not making a judgment call on them. That's between them and whoever. But so that's been helpful with the government grants. With teaching, it did stop, but then I did go down the online route of teaching, and I would say about half of them still did it like that. And then in the summer, when restrictions lifted, there was a hesitancy of them coming back because some of them were a bit nervous. But then slowly most people came back. So the teaching just kept going, really. There was the dip.
Yeah.
It kept going. The gigs pretty much were completely stopped. Although we just did one recently, actually, Crystal Gospel Choir did for Cancer Research UK. They wanted an online concert.
Oh.
So, yeah, for all their legacy donors, they're the ones that I've given for years.
Yeah.
So they just said, oh, can we do these Christmas songs? And so arranged them, and then everyone recorded from their home. And then I pulled all those shots in. So we did, those choir grids people have been doing.
Yeah.
I did one of those. And so they had us in their concert. So that was it was like a gig. It was like an online gig. We got one. I mean, it's hard though, because even today somebody said, oh, I think that we'll be going into tier 2. And so this particular restaurant wanted a jazz duo on Christmas Eve. So I was like, oh, great. But this is today because they didn't get the tier 2. So that's still happening. But really, all the weddings from this year have all been pushed into next summer. So I'm kind of trying to make most of the time now before that all goes crazy again. So the teaching money, the government grants, and then Alex's because he works for a college in the performing arts, so his wage didn't change. So for us that was nice, steady.
Before, just around February of last year, you flew to Japan for various reasons, and then lockdown happened, and you're still in Japan right now. So how are you coping during lockdown with your music? That's and also there's a distant thing. You're like, is it 10 hours ahead of us? So right now it's about a 10-hour gap, isn't it? So it's 9 hours, time for you, so 9 hours. So it's morning for me, nighttime for you. So there's 2 questions there. How are you doing through lockdown, and obviously the international connection as well?
Well, in terms of work and collaboration, like the wind's been blowing in my favour. We've all been heading in the same direction, haven't we? Everyone's moved online. Yeah. We've all been. I call it the glass age. I've written a song about it. Actually, I'll share that with you. A new one. Okay. These devices, they're sort of like a member of the family now, aren't they?
Oh gosh, yeah.
they've moved in. So. How do I get by a daily yoga routine, a daily walk? Sometimes I have to sleep in the day to accommodate. I have felt jet lagged at times, even though I haven't travelled anywhere. Yeah. Just through staying up all night talking to people in Europe. Yeah. I have my next EP is a joint collaboration with a musician in Denmark that was done. It's been done completely remotely, and I think you can hear in the music's developed, changed to fit this working method. Like I was sending Gustav entire songs of guitar and voice, and then he was replacing the guitar with other instruments. So that's worked well because we're not working live, so I can do it. It's kind of like a 24-hour shift because while one's working, the other one's asleep, sort of thing. Yeah. And then I've been doing a lot of songwriting workshops online. I have about 12 people on the call. We'll do a full day, about 10 till 6, a couple of hours in the morning, demonstration, then a break for writing, then a couple of hours in the evening, late afternoon, evening, where we'll share our work.
So it's been a good thing for you then, lockdown? No?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to remove the sadness that's associated with why we're doing this. Yeah. And, it's hard to remove the fact that so many thousands of families have lost loved ones and are left heartbroken and torn, and this is a very challenging time for everyone. Early on within lockdown, I heard an interview with a guy who'd lived on a submarine, and his message was it's all about routine. Right. And I've tried to adopt that. I've got certain rituals, like the morning pages, for example. Every morning when I wake, I write a journal of 3 pages, just straight off the bat. I'll do like a gratitude diary, just noting down things to be grateful for. I do some technical guitar practice. I do some yoga. I try my best to eat healthy and stay disciplined. But I do feel this frustration. I feel like everything is a sort of preparation or a rehearsal. And there's never any real payoff, like performance and a connection with people.
Yeah. And I think that's the downside to it, because I know I'm at home. I mean, I was working from home before lockdown, but as soon as it happened, I felt like I'm being incarcerated. I'm like in a prison. You know, I'm forced to stay in a box and not move. And you can travel so many miles from your home, and that's fine. You can't do this, you can't do that. And that sort of side of me where I'm almost, you know, I'm often on a stage isn't. I think I've done about 2 live shows, pre-recorded, mainly online. A whole year. It's been crazy, and I can't wait to be able to get out and be free again. So but like yourself, you know, it's like having a routine and improving my playing. I mean, that's come up a whole heap. I'm trying to practice. I really have. So that's cool. And yeah, you're right. You know, there is a downside to lockdown of, you know, it's been terrible for many people. And certainly my extended family, has been a couple of people who've caught COVID. Obviously they've recovered, not had any deaths. So that's been a good thing, you know, in that respect, but not the same for other families, really. So somehow you've managed to survive so far through lockdown with the COVID. Has that been the case? Yeah.
I think
I'm interested.
Carry on.
No, go on. No, you go on. No. So what about you? You go first.
Yeah. Like rabbit. I think when the lockdown started, I was due, as you know, to get married this year. And I'd gotten to the point, actually, sort of the whole of 2018, 2019 was a very, very busy couple of years for me, work-wise. And I was getting to the point at the beginning of this year where I just went, you know what, I'm going to take some time out. I need to take some time for myself, just work on what I need to work on vocally, work on what I need to work on spiritually, physically, health-wise, emotionally. And getting married was a massive stress, actually. I was really quite stressed out about this impending wedding situation. When marriages everything sort of transpired that, you know, things weren't going in the direction with the pandemic that we were kind of looking to the, you know, varying sides of the world, watching this kind of flow this way. I was already at a place where I was just like, I need to stop. I cannot do anything. I need to stop. And for the first 6 weeks I'd say actually for the first month of the lockdown, I didn't sing at all. Nothing. Wow. I didn't want to. I took every time I took a breath in to sing, I would burst into tears. And I just didn't want to. The thing about singing is that it ties into your emotional state so much. It's focused all on breath. And when you breathe in and you key into where you are emotionally, and all that comes out is sadness and loss and mourning, you just kind of go, I can't do that to myself right now. So I found the first bit of it was difficult. And I tell you what pulled me out of it was actually being able to teach my young pupils via Zoom and seeing all of these younglings who just were like, I really want to have my singing lessons. I'm really enjoying having singing lessons. I was like, yeah, I'm really enjoying singing with you as well. And then I ended up, you know, I took a breath in one day, sang some spirituals, took another breath in the next day, sang some mid to late 90s rock, female driven led band songs, Evanescence, My Dad, No Doubt, all of that sort of stuff. And I just went, you know, that's when I went, this is what I have to do. This is how I have to live my life. If I don't sing, then something is missing, totally missing. And then industry wise, we've just all had to adapt. You know, singing lessons are on Zoom, workshops are on Zoom. You know, you're doing wonderful things with Kafemni, with the group, getting people together, even though you can't be together. And I've been fortunate again enough to have done a few in-person events, and I've done a few online performances, and I've worked for a couple of companies this year that I would never have thought that I would ever have worked with. So, for example, I did a children's online recital, an operatic recital for the Royal Albert Hall, which was amazing, which was lots of very, you know, stressful to do in your own basement or by yourself. But just brilliant to be able to work with a company like that I've not actually really worked for or with before. So opportunities have popped up because of the situation that we're all in, that I have been very lucky to have pop up.
That's absolutely fantastic. It sounds like, although COVID and lockdown has been a negative for many and for all of us, there's been a really positive side to it as well for you and for other musicians that I'm speaking to who have managed to. Do you think that's something to do with your personality type, which has just decided that you've got to keep going, you've got to make this work, it is your business, you know, you can't just give up and die type thing? Do you think that's something to do with personality? I know there is also the other element of opportunities, but opportunities and something came together. I don't know if you know what that thing was for you.
Do you know, I'm not quite sure what that thing was for me. I'm a great believer in everything that you do leads you to the next moment. So at the first thing that I did sort of lockdown wise was a children's singing lesson for English touring opera that went online on YouTube. And from that, I think that's how the Royal Albert Hall saw me. And a friend of mine who worked there at the Royal Albert Hall, they were looking for somebody else to do one of those recitals, so suggested me. I did that, which then led to, and there, you know, there are things like that, pathways like that, where it's the magic of YouTube, it's the magic of being sort of around and in the ether, in a way that I never have been before. I am very shy about social media. I'm not on YouTube really. I took a massive Twitter hiatus, as they call it. I just came off Twitter at the beginning of the pandemic. I just knew that the only voices that I needed to have around me were the voice in my head, the voices of those immediately around me, and I didn't want to have to, it sounds really selfish, but I actually just needed some silence and time to process things in my own way and sit with my own thoughts and my own feelings, and wonderfully that's made me feel quite, you know, I feel quite chipper and quite confident about what I'm doing. I don't have any sort of like, you're not doing such and such, you're not doing such and such, and this is what's happening. But at the same time, doing things that do go out into the internet and into that ether has enabled more people to see what I do that may never have noticed me before, just because, you know, I wouldn't have been on their radar.
So how have you fared through lockdown, you know, in terms of your business or your business?
Well, in terms of this, I mean, it's been devastating all around, really, because all my shows got moved to this year, then they got moved to next year, and it's like, okay, you start, and you know, I work with Jules as well, so once it double, you know, two jobs again. Yeah, my gigs, his gigs, and that's how it's rolled. I've always kept my work going. People always think, oh, she only works for Jules. Wrong. Yeah. I work with Jules, but I also keep a band going. Yeah. And I also have my own independent albums that I record, etc., etc. And, you know, me and Jules are great. We work like that. And, you know, just make sure that the diaries match, you know what I mean? And then things can happen. Yeah. But this lockdown has been quite interesting. Like I said, the came out in March last year, and not thinking anything that was going to last as long as it has, and has been as devastating, and the loss that we've experienced and the emotions that we've gone through with all that's, you know, enveloped as the months have gone on.
Yeah.
I have welcomed the break. I've taken it out of the bad. The good for me was time out. Yeah. Which I haven't had for, dare I say, I've been on that treadmill for a very long time. Just working because I'm fortunate to have the work. So, hey, I'm a woman of a certain age. I got to work it until I got to kind of work no more. And, you know, don't, that's the way it is. And you got to be real. You got to be real. Until such a time you work it, you bank it, because that's going to be when you can't go, when the high heels don't work no more and the knees are gone, go home. Yeah. And you got something there, that's it. Yeah. So I've been on a treadmill for a very long time, and it's a welcome break. I thought was just gonna be like forever, you know, not very long. Yeah. It's gone on for 1.5 years now, more or less. And I've done little bits and pieces in between, but not compared to what we normally do. Yeah. I started out writing again. I mean, I write all the time. I got that many notebooks, it's ridiculous. I don't know which one. Every one you open, there's a poem in there. There's a piece of, there's drama going on those pages, songs, whatever. When we came out of when we went to lockdown, I just released my 20th album, Love Was Here. I released it in January 24th. All the day, you know, everything was planned to go and whatever, lockdown. So that album never actually got a chance to be toured at all. And it's kind of difficult now, because here I'm going to go next year's like, can I warrant still touring that album? Do I want? I mean, funny enough, last night we had an order come through, because, you know, I sell to the website. Yeah. And an order came through for Love Was Here. And I thought, oh, somebody wants it. Yeah, maybe I'll go back and, you know, so there's an album there that I haven't seen the light today, really. Yeah. Whereby there's a lot of people who've written 2-3 albums within this lockdown. That's great. Unfortunately for me, I don't have that setup here. You know, I don't have the equipment, and I'm not versed that way. That's another thing one needs to learn when you start in the industry. Become versatile in your instrument. Learn something, my dear. Yeah. You see, I'm a team player. Yeah. And and I say that because I sing and I write the songs, and I'll let the keyboard player, that's his job. Everybody has a role. That's the way I'm sharing it. I've always shared it that way. If I was to do it all myself, then, you know, but now I realize maybe I should have done it all myself, because I would have done another album. But that's by the by, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But that's how I've always worked. Yeah. It's proven to be a little bit of a setback, because here I am in lockdown. But it doesn't stop me from writing. It doesn't stop me from holding the phone and singing a melody into it. So I've been doing that anyway. Yeah. And catching up on my family and friends and stuff like that. And then, you know, time in the house. I mean, I've been here, 15 years. I'm seeing it. It's the first time I'm actually seeing it. Really. It's an entirety of it. Oh, what's this? Oh, what's that? You know, I could change that. Never thought about that before. No. Never been here.
You're constantly on the road.
Yeah, I was on the road. So it's been good to have thank God I have a base. I have a home. Yeah. So all those things I'm so grateful for. I have a home, lock that door, and a nice little garden. And that's me. Yeah. So I've managed it that way. And you know, the pandemic did rock my world badly, because my brother got hit with it in New York. He lives in New York, and it got very close indeed. I was fortunate that I had a cousin that was a nurse in that very same hospital, and God bless George. He would go into the room, into my brother's room, and he'd surreptitiously switch his phone on so I could see what was going on in that ward, on that ward. And I saw Robert, and I saw him on the machine, not the machine, on the breathing and things. Yeah. And I saw the struggle for breath. And I went through this last year, April, May, June was the hardest of my life, because I'm here in this country and I'm on the line and I can't get to them. At the same time, my dad was not good, and he was Robert's main carer.
Oh.
And I say main carer, I'll leave it at that. In terms of you call between my brother, the connection.
Yeah.
My dad and my brother, that was a circle. That's what I had. Robert was filling me in with it. When Robert went down, my dad, as poorly as he was aware of what was happening. And then I tell you, I don't even want to go back there. And that's when I was writing ferociously, because I was documenting stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
And Robert came out, he's got long COVID to a point where he had diabetes, but not as bad. And it sent it right into full-blown needle time. You know, one of his legs was badly affected. He thought he might have lost that foot. Thank God they worked on it and they managed to, so a lot of stuff happened, and Robert came out, and my dad, and then got to see my dad, and my dad changed over that time. And he came out, Robert came in June, and July, my dad died. Oh. And so, yeah, a lot of stuff's gone on. A lot, time spent here wasn't just spent. A lot of, I'm so glad I had a home and I wasn't touring and running around.
Yes, because you have to be thinking about cancelling engagements and flying across.
I was here. I was here. And then, of course, all this lockdown business was going on. And then I was fortunate enough, do I go? Father died. They shipped his body home to Jamaica. And I went, I've got to go. I've got to go. I've always been with my father. My dad's always, my trips to Jamaica, like endless. My times, I documented everything every time to Jamaica. I got him here on phone calls, on my phone, in the kitchen, cooking, me taunting him, where I cook. Why don't you leave me alone? Conversations we've had, I recorded with my father.
Wow.
And so I have those memories. I have those things. And I managed to get out to Jamaica for the August. And I went into lockdown in Jamaica for 2 weeks. I took my sister with me.
Yeah.
And, girl, we've had holidays in our lifetime. If you can call it, I went to bury my dad. What a holiday. Oh my God. I went there and all of a sudden it was so strange.
Yeah.
It was so strange. Yeah, we went to this little hotel and all the COVID, everything, the rules were great, everything sorted out, small little thing, back down to the beach. So there was on the beach and it was wonderful. And I had time to think about my father, because what was important was I was on the island where my father was now.
Yeah.
And I was on the island, and that was what was important to me. And I felt like I was with him, and I laid in that sea, girl. I was lied on the sand for hours. I never come out till me and my sister. We were so dark and gorgeous. And the beach, and then they come around with a jelly coconut, and we buy it, and then we got the white rum, and we chuck it. It was all going on. At one point, I thought, am I here to mourn my dad or what? What's going on? I said, no. No, this is what my father would have wanted.
Yeah.
This is a holiday. Come, girl, come.
Yeah.
This is what I want. And it was sad, but also beautiful, because I was able to go and say goodbye.
Yeah, yeah.
And the day before lockdown, I broke the rules because we had 2 weeks quarantine.
We'll take that bit out of the recording.
Yeah. Well, I say, but without leave the rule, left it, I don't care. Leave it in, because it was only a day.
Okay.
It was only a day. It was very important. I wanted to go and see him in the funeral home.
Oh, okay.
And he was going to be buried the next day, and I wanted to see him without the crowds. Yeah. And I went in, my girl, and I sang Peace in the Valley to my dad. Just me and him. And they let me in. And I just stood there, and I he didn't look like my dad, but he was my dad. Yeah. And and you know what? I've never lost a family member. And here I am at my great age, being learned this lesson. And I held my ground. I held it because I'm my father's daughter, and he knew how to hold him ground, and he did. And and I that's me and G. That's the father I had, and I love that man daily. And I love that man daily. and I had to get there. And I quarantined for the 2 weeks, and it came out, and then the Monday, buried him on the Saturday, flew home on the Monday, came back here, locked down again. So locked me down. Locked down in the beach, but that wasn't so bad because I locked down on the beach and the hotel room, and it was all very nice. And then come back, locked down in England. But it was September, came back here on the 1st of September. And it's been what it's been ever since, It's been what it's been ever since. I'm telling you, careers and life and what have you, when stuff like that happens, you really get a real sense of what it's all about.
Yes.
You really do. And if anything I've learned, I've grown up, I don't know, you kind of get a balance of things that are important, that are not so important. And we drive ourselves so hard to achieve things. Give yourself a break.
Yeah.
Back off.
Yeah.
Breathe.
It's been rough for musicians. It's been a setback. It's brought changes and new ways of working. However, my biggest takeaway from today's episode is if you need to stop and rethink your way forward, it's definitely worth doing, as you've heard from my guests. And it's also been my experience too. I hope this episode will help you to continue making your way forward in the industry and for you to continue doing what you do best, which is to make and perform great music. By the way, if during this time you find you're struggling with getting paid for your work, then I have 10 tips to help you with getting paid. It's called 10 Reasons Why They Will Pay You Before Gig Day. You can download the sheet from successbeyondthescore.com/get paid before gig day. The link is also in the description. So that is www.successbeyondthescore.com/get paid before gig day, and the link is in the description. See you next time.